Mr. Right. So there's a Mr. Right who wrote, "How not to feel angry when people correct me, even though I'm right." An example is pronouncing words when there's only one correct pronunciation. Oh boy. Oh, there are so many layers here. Where do we start? So first of all, there's a case where we are right, and there's a case where we are wrong. There's a case where we are right and people correct us, and there's a case where we are right and people don't correct us. There's a case where people correct us and we are wrong, and there's a case where we are wrong and people don't correct us. And then there's a case where we are right and people correct us and we are angry, and there's a case where we are right and people correct us and we are not angry. There's a case where we are right and people don't correct us and we are angry, and there's a case where we are right and people don't correct us and we are not angry. There's a okay, I don't have to go through all permutation. So we suffice to say, we don't want the outcome to be where we are angry. Yeah. So the question is, when people do correct us, whether we are right or wrong, how not to feel angry? Yeah. The question is not this. The question is, even though I'm right. But perhaps that's the question itself, right, is part of the problem. Yeah. Because we feel that we are right, so we shouldn't be corrected. That is the cause of why we are angry. Yeah. So this is it becoming a cliche, but it boils down to ego, you know? Yeah, it boils down to ego. The tricky part is when there seems to be an objective right. Yeah, like in this case, there's only one correct pronunciation. Yeah. So for example, the word, what do you call that process, that activity when your kid go for lesson outside of the school? How do you call that?
Tuition.
Yeah. So in Singapore, we used to call it tuition, right? Yeah. But these days, I heard that the so-called correct pronunciation is tuition. And I'm like, what? So then which is the correct one? Apparently, the Brits have certain ways of pronouncing certain things, and then the Americans have certain way of pronouncing certain things as well. And it's the same word, right? Even Americans even change the spelling. Yeah. But let's take Americans out of the picture. Let's just look at UK. Okay, let's just look at UK. How do you pronounce the word MUD?
Mud.
Mud, right? Yeah. How about the rest? Anybody speaks Queen's English? You speak it with stiff upper lip. And you always end with a higher note. Americans tend to end with a lower note. British would tend to end with a higher note. Yeah. You know, sound British, you end with a higher note. Do you know that in UK, they don't always pronounce it as mud. They pronounce it as mood. I'm serious. So MUDDY, how do you pronounce it? In Singapore and most of Asia, we pronounce it as muddy. But then I saw this documentary and the person in the UK said, this is very moody. I was like, what? Why is the girl moody? It's just crazy. Yeah. My first exposure to difference in pronunciation came in maybe secondary school. Around Sec 3, there was this geography teacher. She would pronounce words like, so how do you pronounce this word? Schedule. How do you pronounce it? Not Marcel, somebody else. Come on. Anybody? Like?
Schedule.
Schedule. Any other way of pronouncing it?
Schedule.
Yeah. So you see there's schedule and schedule. Some English, a lot of English teachers would pronounce as schedule, whereas that particular geography teacher, I think it's Mrs. Ko, she pronounced as schedule. Yeah. And somehow I just start pronouncing schedule as well. And then the word often, is it often or often? Right? So it's very interesting. Yeah. But which is the correct one? Yeah, which is the correct one? Well, pronunciation are conventions, you know. So before I continue, otherwise you all don't know where I'm headed. What I'm highlighting is when I first start off, I go through a lot of permutation. I just went through about 3/4 of permutation. And it's to highlight that for the situation where a person feels angry when corrected, even though he is right, you have to consider that there are a lot of things happening. Okay, and so because of that, there are many ways to avoid that outcome of being angry. Yeah. So the approach I'm currently highlighting is to know that the idea that I am right is not always valid. Yeah. So first thing is to highlight that we're not always right, even though we think we are right, because pronunciation is a convention. Yeah. If enough people pronounce it in this way, then that's the correct way. Yeah. But even then, it just means that if you it still don't make it right. Actually, it just means that it's more commonly accepted. Yeah, it's just like our Singlish is not accepted in a lot of our Singlish is not accepted in the Oxford Dictionary, you know. I mean, personally, even though I'm a Singaporean and I will throw in some Singlish here and there, but when I saw the news, I was like, what travesty! It's like, for the longest time, we've been told that we are speaking it wrong and we have to speak the proper English. And now that they tell us, oh, by the way, lie is also accepted. So I'm like, oh, come on, stick to your story. Yeah. But the truth is, there's no such a thing as a right pronunciation, so to speak. We can only say that it is deemed correct because it's more commonly accepted within this group of people. Yeah. So given that there's no so-called absoluteness in terms of pronunciation, yeah, then we can go on to the next part, yeah, which is, so what if you are right? Okay, but before we jump into that, if you ask yourself, what is the purpose of a correct pronunciation? Is part of communication, isn't it? And the purpose of communication is not simply about pronouncing it right. Pronouncing it right is the means to an end. You want to pronounce something right so that people don't misunderstand you. So the end goal is not pronouncing it right, it's for people to understand you, which is why you will, if you spend time with me, you will find that sometimes when I speak to certain groups of people, I may pronounce in a certain way because that helps them to understand me better, or rather that helps me to get the message across better. For example, if I talk to kids, I probably won't speak in a in a perfect diction. I will speak to them in baby talk. Hello, you want to mama? You know what I mean? Yeah, and we all do that. It's not just simple. We all do that because the purpose of pronunciation as part of the usage of words is to express ourselves, to pass a message along. So to that end, the means that work is the correct pronunciation, is the correct way. Yeah. So having said that, even if we get it right and people correct us, should we then get angry? I guess part of it is, well, if we don't get angry, of course, that's good. Yeah. So the question is, why do we get angry? Well, this is where if the person is here, then it's easier because then I can ask the person. So let's just use you all as the sample. Like, don't tell me, oh, Sifu, I won't get angry. Just assume that there are cases, not about pronunciation, but in other cases where you are actually correct and people correct you, and then you get upset. Yeah, what is the reasoning? Yeah, you are correct plus the person correcting you. This two itself, is there anything else that would then cause you to say, yep, you get angry? Yeah, is there anything missing here? For example, let me give you a situation, okay? Let's say your 5-year-old niece or 5-year-old son or daughter or whatever correct you. Yeah, you say like, boy, why do you so often do this? Then your 5-year-old say, auntie or uncle, it's not often, it's often. Are you going to get angry? Maybe not. But what if it's your someone that you like, someone that you are infatuated with, yeah, and then you say the same thing, then it's like, I tell you, I don't know why. These days I'm often late for work, and then that special someone, yeah, tell you, wait, not often, often. Would you get angry? Versus if, let's say, now among your friends, your peers, okay, and among your peers, your English is like the best. And by best, it doesn't mean A1. Maybe you got B3, but the rest all C5, C6 one. And then they correct you. No. Not often, often. And then what are you going to do? Are you going to get angry? Probably more likely to get angry, isn't it? Because you feel that they are not worthy to correct you. But how about the 5-year-old? 5-year-old is also not worthy to correct you. What does the 5-year-old know about pronunciation? Of course, these days may not be true. Yeah, a lot of 5-year-olds these days speak like Amoa. It's like, auntie, that is not how you pronounce it. It's often. Oh, it's often. Yeah. So how? Quack asks, how is divorce pronounced? Yeah. So there are two pronunciations I've heard. One is divorce, one is divorce. Yeah. It's just like simultaneous equation versus simultaneous equation. Yeah. As much as I tend to have some axe to grind about Americans, some of my pronunciation is more American than British, actually. Yeah, and that's because I watch a lot of programs about programming, which was also predominantly American, although the early part was British. Yeah. So Quack further says it's all right to be checked. Yeah. I mean, I can think of one possibility, which is that one, as I said, we feel that the person is not the right person to correct us. Yeah, that we are an authority in this area, say for example, pronunciation, because we know we are correct. Yeah, but the question is still, what does the correction do to us? If the correction doesn't do anything to us, then why should we get angry? At least not anything objective. Yeah. If the person correct us and as a result our pronunciation becomes flawed, yeah, then we should maybe it warrants getting angry, right? Yeah. But if the person's comment doesn't do anything to us at all, it is inconsequential, then, and the only consequence, so-called, is our reaction to it, is how we feel to it. That means it's not an objective consequence. Yeah, it's our reaction. So other than our reaction, there's no other consequences. Give you an example. If someone scolds you, there's no objective consequences versus if someone slapped you. If someone slapped you, you interpret or don't interpret, you feel a sting here. Yeah, if the person whack you hard enough, you might go blind. Yeah, that's an objective consequence. Yeah, so a lot of this boil down to actually ego. Simply put, is actually just simply ego. Yeah. Bye, Jolene and Doreen. Go.
Thank you, Shifu. Mhm.
Yeah. So, what do y'all think? Do y'all get corrected when you are actually, here I want to highlight now, when you actually feel that you are correct, because sometimes our perception may be wrong. But what's important is, as long as we feel that we are right, we may get angry. Or are y'all thinking like, this would never happen to me? Yeah, nobody leave to correct me when I'm correct. I make sure they kena jialat. I don't get angry one. I just tekan them jialat. Yeah, there are too many layers here. And as I said, better if the person can be here to explore, because you all are not reactive.
So can I check, what if this was like Dharma related? Like for example, you are sharing a particular thing. Say you tell someone that killing insects is not so good, or killing pests, for example, then the person don't really agree. Then say, oh no, but this is a harmful animal. It's going to cause illnesses if you do not kill it or something like this. Then then you have this conflict with you, but you believe they are right. So you get a little bit upset because you're trying to, because it's rooted in the Dharma as well. Then in a sense, you are upset not only because like you feel like it's an ego thing, but more like, what if this person becomes disconnected with the Dharma, cannot accept the Dharma because of something like this, and the fear of the consequence causes you to be upset?
Oh, fear of the consequences cause you to be upset.
Yeah, like you're afraid that the person will, because of this incident, feel disconnected with the Dharma as a result.
So we should feel afraid. We shouldn't feel angry.
I guess so.
Yeah, but you're right that we may end up feeling upset. But when you look at it logically, as you said, we should feel fear for that person's well-being. The trouble is, it's never simply that. Yeah, the logical analysis should lead to compassion towards that person. But then in between, our ego come in, and we are not aware of that. And it's always the ego that causes us to get upset. Yeah. I have encountered this many times in classes. Yeah. I mean, it's not the majority, but many times means that it's over many years, I've encountered students who disagree. Yeah. I should say that in the earlier years, I do get somewhat flustered. Yeah. Flustered, not to the extent of being angry with that person, but like how do I get this across to you? Yeah. But at a later stage, I realized that, well, if you cannot understand it, then what can I do, right? Yeah. So sometimes I realize that the best way is not to force something onto someone, but to just go along with their train of thought. Yeah, because I find that many times, if that viewpoint is flawed, and if you go along with it, you will reach some contradiction or some state that doesn't make sense. And that way can help that person see that their point of view is flawed, rather than me trying to go from my angle. Yeah, and that's how I see it helps. Corollary with what you just mentioned is where, let's say, I share something, and then is it related to pronunciation? No, more also about Dharma, and then yeah, it's also related to the person, like somehow just 转不过来. Yeah, but as I said, these days I'm more of a, okay, it's okay, you don't have to agree with it. Yeah, but can you state your stand? Yeah. I can understand how one can get flustered. Yeah. No. But as I said, the logical analysis should lead to the logical conclusion of feeling fearful for that person, which would then arise compassion for them because we see the potential harm that they are going down the path. Yeah. Okay, Venice has gone off. Monday, everybody have to rush off for work. Yeah. This topic that deserve a bit more time. Yeah, because when we learn in the sutra versus our actual day-to-day life, many times we get angry over such things. Yeah, we are not usually getting angry because someone literally took a knife and stabbed us. Yeah, not because someone come and kill our dog or something. Yeah, but it's when they hurt us in a somewhat intangible manner. Yeah. And many of this intangibleness is related to our ego. Yeah, our sense of I. Yeah. Of course, some people may further think that no, it's not about that. Yeah. It's about that there is a right pronunciation, for example. Yeah. Well, one line I often tell people is ask yourself, you are right, they are wrong, you are angry. Does it make sense that you are the person who is right and your outcome is angry? How and why should being right lead to anger, lead to being upset, lead to unhappiness? Something is wrong somewhere. Yeah, something must be wrong somewhere. Being right should lead to being okay. Yeah, if being right leads to being upset, then there's no point being right, in this way. No point being right in this way. Yeah. Do you face that often, Ong Chit?
Yeah, I think sometimes, cause like for example, when I'm talking to my parents about certain things, or like just talking about certain concepts, then it's a bit hard to get across. Then I'm worried that because something like this happened, then they will close off themselves to Buddhism, or like close off themselves to like the Dharma. So then there's always a bit of worry. Then also, like, I realized that when I'm trying to discuss with them, I will get a bit more agitated I will notice about it. Oh yeah, I'm getting a bit more agitated. Maybe I'll raise my voice a little bit, or like I will talk a little bit faster, that kind of thing. Then I was like, yeah. So actually, I'm getting a bit agitated. So I will just try to reflect that kind of thing. Yeah.
I guess in such a case, there are a few things here. One is our concern for our parents bring in emotions. You know, we tend to get emotional when it is our family, in particular our parents. At the same time, from their angle, because you're their son, they also tend to get even more emotional in a perhaps not so right way. Yeah. When I underwent counseling training years back, one of the things highlighted to us was the case that you counsel shouldn't include your family, yeah, or even your friends. And the rationale being that with family and friends, there's a certain preconceived and long-term ingrained relation, yeah, of how they relate to you. So it's very hard to then suddenly put that relation apart and then relate to you as a source of counsel. Yeah. So that's why many times for many children, when I say children, it doesn't mean that they're 5-year-old. You can be 50-year-old, your 70 plus 80-year-old mother or father may still be uncomfortable to hear counsel, advice, or instructions from you. Yeah, even though you may be a professional, you may be an expert in that field, the whole world recognize you, but your parents look at you, when they see you, in the words of my parents and my uncle, auntie, they say, "Aya, what's on the toy because yeah, that's what my uncle said about how my mom would look at me. But I must say that in the case of my parents, they are very unique. Because even when I was in secondary school, they would entertain me. They weren't just dismiss, you were a stupid boy. But they were like, listen. I mean, now in retrospect, I don't know how much they actually listen in. But but they will just entertain me. Yeah. And I remember my dad ever commented to my mom like, "They call a boy,ไม่ค่อยกินน่ะ水啲講流浪way咧." But the interesting thing is that to me, while that may seem condescending, yeah, to say entertain us, that's a very important first step. Because if they are not even interested in entertaining you, they are not even they are just saying, no, you are too stupid for me to even entertain you. Yeah, that entertaining part is a very important phase of communication where it opens them to the possibility of actually being receptive to what you say, which is what happened in the end. Over time, when when what is shared and discussed turn out to work, then it starts to shift their mindset. Yeah. But in order for that to happen, there's also other factors involved. I like to think that the two-way communication happened because it's two ways. In the case of my parents and myself, I spent several, I don't know how many hundreds of hours listening to my mom and my dad. Yeah. Yeah, it's not that I clock in, okay, 1,000 hours. Okay, now I can say something. But it's just, it's thing or it's relationship building. If you spend time, listening to that person feel more comfortable to listen to you also. Yeah, it's a very natural thing. And that's why when some students share with me that they have difficulty sharing the Dhamma with their parents, one of the first thing I ask them is, so do you chit chat with your parents normally? They said, no. But are you on talking terms with your parents? No. And I'm like, So what makes you think your parent is going to listen to you when, like, you don't usually chit chat with them, you don't really spend time, just. And then the first thing you say, Ma, you shouldn't eat meat, you should take vegetarian food. Then I was like, why should they listen to you? Yeah, it's the same thing as parent to child. When a kid is playing, at the age of playing, and then tell you the funny, there's to many adults, kids stupid lah. Like, oh, this is like now. But if you don't spend time entertaining them, listening to their fantasy stories, why should they listen to your reality stories? It's a very direct thing. Yeah. For the longest time, my mom, my relatives, they always say that, like, they always see me as like a kid, because even when I was in my late teens, even my 20s, when I meet my nieces and nephew, I play with them. Yeah. But I play with them not with the agenda that, oh, I want to communicate with them. I don't know why I'm like that, but I just play with them. And I really engage them in their stories. Yeah, because I feel that, yeah, it's quite fun. But the side effect is that, so when I do talk to them, it's a two-way thing. It's a two-way thing. So this is a lot about communication as well. And to do that, you need to put aside ego is a strong word now. Put aside your identity. Yeah. Stop thinking of who you are, but ask yourself who that person is. Show interest in that person. Yeah. Really listen to that person. Then the person may take interest in what you say. 阿弥陀佛。愿消三障诸烦恼，
愿消三障诸烦恼，
愿得智慧真明了，
愿得智慧真明了，
不愿罪障悉消除，
不愿罪障悉消除，
世世常行菩萨道。
只是常行菩萨道。
阿弥陀佛。
弥陀佛。